Game on.
Hi everybody, thank you for joining me on today's edition of Glen's Retro Show. Well, today was a surprising day on the official Arcade1UP Global fan page. A gentleman by the name of Al Link has shown a project he's been working on. It's a LED active and animated light-up display for your Arcade1UP or other arcade machines. I was able to reach out to Al today and sit down with him for a half hour to talk to him about his project. Let's get into it. So I have to me right now live via Skype out in good old sunny California is Al Link. And Al Link kind of surprised a lot of people the other day with a post he did up on the official Arcade1UP Facebook group with what you see behind him right to his, well, to my right, could be to his left. I always get that backwards. But he's got a nice LED marquee. So Al, first of all, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, what you do, and what made you come up with this idea?
Sure, yeah, no. First of all, thanks for having me on your show. It's an honor. So my name is Al Link. By day job, I'm an IT guy. I work for a Fortune 500 company here in the Valley. And nights and weekends, I'm basically an electronics DIY geek. So I like to do a lot of projects with LEDs. Prior to this project, I did some LED art projects and actually an LED handbag and some other things. But like many of you, I grew up in the 80s and really into arcade machines, and I just had this idea to do, I always wanted to do an LED marquee. So I created one about 5 months ago for myself, and have been working with a few other guys that have cabs that have been using it. And I just picked up this Arcade1UP over Christmas and thought it'd be a cool project to mod it, and that's what I posted. And
I see actually a Street Fighter over there, so you are a bit of a gaming connoisseur.
Yeah, I got a Street Fighter, and let's see, got a Burger Time as well.
Oh, look at that! So Doug and Doug, Cool Toy, and Retro Ralph both would be quite excited for both those machines right there. And actually, Sean Rerez. Oh my God, Sean at Rerez loves Burger Time. He actually is one of the people who went over to Arcade1UP asking him to convert the Karate Champ to Burger Time. So I mean, this looks really, really nice. Now, this is not a full LCD panel. This is actually an LED panel, which is a little bit different. It's almost like a light bright with individual colored pegs, correct?
I'll show you a little. Basically, I brought a couple of props with me. So this one is basically just two of these guys. So these are standard LED panels used in the sign industry. So if you were to go to Japan, or you see these big buildings that have these massive LED displays, it's basically a number of these daisy chain, right? And so it's kind of, one advantage of using that is that using standard panels, I can offer different sizes. So for example, this size works well for the Arcade1UP. You know, for the Street Fighter cab, that would be one size up, maybe something closer to this. So we're able to kind of match the LEDs and do a nice mount per the cabinet that you have.
That's actually an interesting point you brought up, because one of the questions a couple of my friends wanted me to ask you was, aside from the Arcade1UP, which is awesome, are there going to be other options? Let's say for the ATGames Legends Ultimate or other machines, would you be able to, or have plans to do things along those lines?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So I've been working with a number of folks right now, and the idea was to, kind of all the popular cabs to basically design a custom mount. So for example, I have a current customer, he's got an X Arcade. Another guy has got a Micro Center cab. Another one from Game Room Solutions. So kind of these standard cabs, right? So I just need the dimensions, and then it's just a matter of custom designing a mount, which isn't too much work. And then I farm it out. I use a laser cutting service. I farm it out to the laser cutter, put it all together, and ship it off. Yeah,
because I see you have, I was watching your Instructable, which is actually, guys, for you, there'll be a link down below to all this. The Instructable is very, very detailed and a great watch. You have the, the smoked plexiglass cover over the front of that, and it actually, like I said, it increases the contrast of it. It looks really, really nice. Otherwise, it's a little too bright. So a lot of people have also been asking me about, how it's set up. Now here you're probably running either, is this a PC right now or a Pi you're running right now on this one?
Yeah, this is the PC. So here we're running Hyperspin on a PC.
Right, and I was looking in there, and the hardware we have in here can be controlled either by a Bluetooth. So if you don't have anything set up like that, you can use your cell phone Android only currently. See, that's why you want Android, people. But are you working on an iOS version of it, or is that just?
At the moment, no. It's definitely possible. I have an iOS app for some smaller resolution screens, but this one at the moment it's Android only.
See, people, would it work on a tablet? Go out and buy an Android tablet, so they can still connect that way.
Just needs Bluetooth.
So now the artwork, I was watching it again. So you can do it via Bluetooth, and you can pick things that way, or you can obviously link it to Hyperspin or to your Raspberry Pi, and you can have as you select the game, pick it. The artwork itself, is that something you designed, something that's available from? I was going through some of the things. There's a program I guess you installed for that. So how does the artwork that you get it? How does that work?
Yeah, so I've basically done all that myself at the moment. I'm hoping to eventually kind of get a community going, but you got to get things started. So basically, for something like this, for example, what I do is I take the original logo that's very common today in Hyperspin and other front ends, and just make that look really good in low resolution, pixel art basically.
Right.
So for example, something like this, maybe take me 5 or 10 minutes, basically going in 1 pixel at a time, downsizing it. Unfortunately, you can't automate it because it just looks bad.
Right.
You'll see all these straight pixels. So I just go in there and basically clean it up and just basically remaster it in 8-bit form.
Okay, so people can actually make their own then.
Absolutely.
And also,
I hope people do that because it's a lot of work for me to do them all myself. So I'm hoping people do that. So basically, you author it in a ping or even animated GIF. So if you want to do an animated GIF, this could actually be an animation.
So you can have like Pac-Man go by with the ghost chasing him, something along those lines.
Exactly. Yeah. If the screensaver kicks in, actually, you'll see Pac-Man scroll by. That's the screensaver I have right now.
Is there a limit to how much animation can be in there? Is it like so many seconds, so many frames?
Yeah, I've done ones that are thousands of frames. No really limit.
That's actually cool. So again, so these are pretty much by hand, low resolution, and then you touch up the artwork to get it. So people now, if people do start making their own, is there a repository you have where people can add it to give to you to put out in the build?
Yeah. So on my site, Pixelcade.org, I've got a little art exchange link on there, and that was the idea. It's basically a forum for people to go ahead and exchange artwork.
Okay, now, and there's a couple of different components. Obviously, you have the LEDs, which is part of it, right? You have your plexiglass front, and there's a plexiglass back, so you assemble it. And then you have a board. Is that a custom board you built, or just one you programmed off the shelf?
Yeah, so it's based on an open source board called the Yoke. So I have a good friend of mine, a guy's named Itai, good friend of mine, he actually created that board. And so we did a custom version of it to basically control LED panels. So that's a board we created about 5 years ago.
Excellent. And again, this one board we're seeing behind you is your big one, but in your video...
Sorry, Rob, just 1 sec. My cat is fucking the camera. Let me just... Sorry about that.
Everyone likes to... Hey, that's fine. Pets are awesome.
Yeah.
But aside from the large panel you have up there in your video, you are making smaller ones as well for other things, like showing what year the machine is made and so forth.
Yeah. So maybe I'll just kind of zoom in here a little bit, get a bigger picture. This one I'm still kind of experimenting with. Can you see that?
Yeah, we can see it. Yep, there we can see it now.
Okay. Yeah, so those displays here. So this is basically an OLED display, so it's got a little bit more resolution there. This is old school 7-segment, and this is a scrolling dot matrix. So the idea was to kind of show additional information about the game that's been selected. And I'm still getting really good feedback from people on what people want to see on these, for example. I think the consensus so far is high scores would be pretty cool. So that's on my to-do list.
That's actually a really good idea.
Pick the game. Yeah.
That's a really good idea. Now, another question someone asked was, let's say someone has a stock Arcade1UP, right? And you have four games built in or 2 games built in.
Yeah.
So you can still buy that display and use your phone to pick which game is on there, Galaga or Galaxian, Pac-Man or Pac-Man Plus. So you don't have to have a completely modded machine to add this kind of display.
That's right. Yeah. And furthermore, you could also, with that approach, you're going to have to manually change it, but you could also set it up as kind of a slideshow. So it could stay on Galaga for 5 seconds and then go to Pac-Man or whatever you want. So you could do your own custom animation, just have that go. that would be another option.
And how hard is it for someone? Let's say I have some experience with this stuff, but not a ton. But if someone doesn't have a lot of experience, is it difficult to program those displays? Obviously, you can use the app, right? And you can just pick it and it'll send it over to there.
Yeah.
But is it almost like Microsoft Paint? Is it easy to like just draw and it saves in a format for the right size and it takes it?
Mm-hmm. So basically, Paint works. A lot of people use Photoshop if you've got Photoshop. But just think of this as a 128 by 32 resolution display. So you would just author your image in 128 by 32. Could be Paint, it could be Photoshop. Save it as a ping, and then just share that to the app, and then the app takes care of all the heavy lifting for you.
Now I don't know if anyone's given you this idea, but I'm going to throw this out there. The marquee up there looks great, but you also put some small the smaller ones below where the speaker grill is, right? You have one down there. One of those down there might be not too bad either, because you can do you can have Tron, you can have Tron artwork there. You can kind of change the artwork on that panel. Just a suggestion for you crazy people out there who want to do all kinds of things to your machine. This opens up the possibilities for more things, which I think is kind of neat. Now, with all being said and done, how hard was this for you to get this off the ground? I mean, how much work did you put in for this? We said about 5 months ago you kind of started, but how much blood, sweat, and tears? Because you're a married man, so I assume the wife had to be okay with these.
I've got a full-time job. I mean, I'm sure everyone here has a full-time job too, right? So you make time for the things you love to do, right? So it's definitely a labor of love. It's a lot of nights and weekends. I also want to mention LED Blink, Dennis over at LED Blinky. I don't know if that's a common thing in the Arcade1UP community, but there's another piece of software called LED Blinky, and LED Blinky basically, the idea is that you can animate your buttons, right? So these buttons right now are animated. So if you wanted to do a custom animation per game, that's what LED Blinky is for. And Dennis had already done the plumbing to integrate with the front ends. So it's kind of a natural fit that we worked together. And he already had the plumbing done, so I was able to pretty quickly integrate my Marquee software with LED Blinky, which enables this real-time update. So as I scroll through the games, the Marquee changes dynamically, right? And that's due to the plumbing from LED Blinky. So I just wanted to mention that as well. It's
just really cool to see. I mean, Arcade1UP is only itself been out for a little over a year now, and it's just kind of funny how I don't even think they realized how like the homebrew or mod community has really embraced that like type of item. I mean, some people I can't build a cabinet to save my life. I'm not good with wood. I'm an erector set kind of guy. So something like this, it's just amazing. These things coming out, and I like this. I mean, I think it's really, really neat. And another thing to mention out there, the Arcade1UP does run on 12 volts. That does not. So you want to be very careful, because I think the barrel connectors are kind of similar in size.
They're exactly the same.
Okay. So you have to be very careful. This cannot take power from your Arcade1UP power supply. Don't use a Y splitter. You will fry the display, or fry the display board anyways. Just take caution with that. But you supply that. It comes with a power supply.
Yeah, the power supply comes with the kit. Yeah.
So
I'm impressed, Glenn. You actually look through my videos. So.
I don't have a life, man. This is what I do. But so let's say someone goes to your website, they order the kit. Is there anything outside of that kit that they would need other than a screwdriver or a Phillips head to open up the machine to put it in? Is there anything you need outside of that? Obviously, an Android phone you would possibly need, but is there anything else that's required for your kit?
Yeah, so all the hardware we include, the main thing is the mount. And so the mount I've got, and this is all open source, by the way. So what I've done is I've put all the mounts on my website. So let's say you had Arcade1UP, or you had an X Arcade, and you have access to a laser cutter or laser cutting service in your area, you can just get those files and print it out yourself. If you don't, you can order from us as well. So the mount is really the only other thing that you need. Unless you want to do your own mount, of course, but that's more time, right? Better to use one that's already there for you.
Yeah, I think most people probably would go for that. I mean, they're definitely the hardcore tinkerers, but I think the majority of people will probably go for the full kit. Now, again, he's going to send me the information out, and I'll make sure it's in my description down below for his website and everything else. The instructables will all be there. But for right now, you said you've been getting feedback from people. What have people been telling you they'd like to see, and things that maybe you're considering doing?
Yeah. So I would say, the big hit is definitely the LED Marquee. People love that. That's kind of where it started. So I would say that's kind of the key thing. I think these mini displays right now is very experimental. You know, I kind of did that as a technology proof of concept just to prove I could do it technically. I think, you know, I still need to figure out what the right use case is to display on these mini displays. You know, I'm actually going to mod this Street Fighter one next, and so I'm thinking about maybe having the LED marquee and then maybe putting one of these smaller ones in there as well and scroll high scores, right? So there's kind of different ways you can play with it depending on the real estate. So yeah, I would say the feedback's been good so far, but it's also very early. So I would love to hear from people on what they want. You know, you know, a lot of guys on RetroPie. So that was actually the first integration we did, was getting this working with RetroPie, and then we moved on to Hyperspin and GameX and the other front ends.
Like I say, I definitely love the idea of it, of the small display showing, you know, the year the game was made and the high scores. I mean, if you can do that, I think that's a huge, awesome thing to add. The bragging rights on high scores is always good. Now, I guess the question would be, like, okay, not all the ones save the high scores, but RetroPie, I guess, can. So you wouldn't have a problem with those scores being pulled back out of RetroPie or Hyperspin to display high scores, correct? That stuff would be normally saved on the emulation.
Yeah, for sure. Hyperspin, I know it's possible. There's a plugin that does that. RetroPie, probably, I just haven't looked into it yet, but I'm guessing it's doable. So as long as I can get that data, then integrating it into my code is actually pretty easy.
Now, I guess the big question everyone's always going to ask is, what is the price point? What do these go for? Yeah. So this one right now, I think, is around $250 or $60. I have to double check that on my site. Fully assembled, I think it's $300. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, so I do get feedback that it is, you know, a bit on the high side. Definitely agree with that. Would like to get the cost down. What I would say is, you know, at this point, it's a very low volume kind of niche product, right? So if it really takes off, then, you know, I can get the manufacturing costs down, but it's quite expensive to produce things in low quantities. Right, and I can definitely attest to that. So when something is in small quantity, right now it's a hobby project. Right now, a hobby project of love, and it's really cool. So as things take off, you can obviously talk to your vendor. As price points go up, and the price will come down. And to be honest, you know, people always, everything's always, if it's not free, it's always too much money. So that's the first thing. But I think the cool factor on there is high, and obviously it's also your time as well. I mean, you got to put in time to get this all going. So I don't think it's put a lot of time into the software. Yeah, I would say, you know, the hardware, you know, other than the board that we made, you can get the panels and whatnot, but the software is really. Now on the I guess the computer you're running the displays on, does it have its own memory in there, or using a micro SD card to store data? For the custom board that we made, it does use a micro SD card. It does. So everything is stored on this. You basically, if you're using like your cell phone, you pick images, those are actually now getting downloaded to the board at that point, or the phone. Okay, so it gets downloaded that way, and then you can pick it through the phone. And then it's still playing there when your phone's disconnected. Cool. And I haven't seen anything animated yet, but it does do, like I said, animation. I think in your instructable, I did see Pac-Man run by with some ghosts or something along those lines. Yeah, it looks like it didn't kick into screensaver mode yet here, but yeah. So you obviously would like to get the price point down. So we've asked that question. It's always something that comes up. But early adopters, obviously, it's going to be a little bit higher. Like with anything. When you buy the first VCR, I'm old, first VCR, first DVD player, first Atari 2600, you know, you're going to pay a little bit more, but it's just good to hear that he would like to get the price down, and he will as quantities go out. And I personally would like to see, not only on there, but I would love to see it when you get it on the Street Fighter, and we can get you measurements for the Legends Ultimate, because I think that the ATGames machine would really benefit for that, because they might get mad at me for this, but I never liked that marquee on there. It's not very attractive to me on the machine. Something like that on there, I think would be like a perfect thing. It's a little bit wider than the Arcade1UPs, but not terribly so. But I think that would look really nice on there, and especially since on this machine you can add pretty much at the beginning all kinds of games. You know, connect your PC to it. It's a lot more expandable for someone who may not be able to mod their Arcade1UP, But even if they don't, they can still put a couple of icons on there initially.
Hmm.
Now,
yeah, no, definitely. I would say that, if someone's got a cab that I haven't done, I'll just make this offer to your viewers. Definitely hit me up. I'm open to give you a deal. For me, Glenn, like you said, getting it out there and kind of, as long as you're willing to kind of share it and share it with the community, I'm very open to, even do it at my cost, help you design the mount, because ultimately that's going to be good for the project. So if you've got a cab that I don't have, definitely hit me up. My email is al@ledpixelart.com, and we can talk and we can get that going for you.
Excellent. Now, I know those panels obviously are sectional.
Yep.
Is it restrictive as well? I mean, are they like preset sizes, or are they kind of more customizable? I'm trying to figure out if there's ever going to be a width or a height that you won't be able to hit.
Yeah, so they come in standard sizes, but so I offer 4 different sizes. So I found that, this is P5. This is the biggest one here. This one is what's in these guys, so 2 of them. And there's one other one that I don't have on me. But I found that between those 5 sizes, I haven't found a cab that it doesn't fit yet. So I think we're pretty much good. Unless someone has some really crazy thing, non-standard, I don't see any issues with finding something that isn't a good fit for your cab.
And they actually, from you handling it, they seem like they're pretty robust.
Oh, the panels?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty sturdy. These are made to go on sides of buildings and whatnot. So they're, mounting things on the back. They're not very fragile.
And they're obviously RGB. How many colors can they put out? Is there a limit to the amount of colors?
It's RGB, so I think in my software, I have to look up, remember, it's thousands of colors. Hasn't been a constraint.
Right. So when people look at it, you're doing low resolution because obviously they're inside of a building, they're much farther away, and they can make a TV set out of them, and they look high resolution from the distance. But I still think they look really, really good here. I'm looking at Mortal Kombat right now, and that looks just really, really nice.
Yeah.
So is there any issues you ran into, things that you were like, man, the project was not going to happen because you couldn't figure something out, but then you had a eureka moment and you got it working?
Anytime you're doing software, there's always bugs that you get stuck on, right? So I've had, many nights just trying to troubleshoot and get those bugs out. That's just a matter of putting your head down and getting through it. But the hardware, I already had done from a previous project. So the hardware is pretty much fully baked. This is just a different use case. So that's been pretty solid, I have to say. So I don't think any really big showstoppers there. Just a matter of getting it done and finding the time.
And is there any features you're looking to add that you may not be able to actually make happen, or you do have planned, but it's not going to be for now? I guess I'm asking, is it upgradable? If you have a new feature, is it like just a phone app update, or is there a firmware update you would do to the board in the display?
Yeah, mainly on the software side. So the software is written in Java, so it's just a Windows exe or Raspberry Pi jar file. So that's the main one that we update. If we find a bug or someone, wants to, for example, if I exit out of here, someone wanted to be able to display the last image that was written rather than have a blank screen, which makes total sense. So little things like that. That's all on the application side. The firmware has been pretty stable. We haven't had to do anything there. It's possible if we need to. And then the mobile app, I update from time to time. But again, that one, I'm using the same app that I developed 5 years ago for the LEDR project. So that's been pretty stable as well.
So I assume if you did a firmware update, you would pull out the SD card, put the firmware on the SD card, and
Yep.
put it in?
Exactly. Yep. Just
Excellent.
copy the files and it'll flash it for you. Yep.
Excellent. Well, is there anything else you want to share about it? I mean, I'm looking real fortunate. I'm just still mesmerized. I'm looking at it, and it's just a really nice display. So congratulations. Is there anything else you want to share about it?
No, I think, again, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. I would just say that, if someone has a, project they want to get going and it's for a cab that I haven't done, definitely hit me up. Happy to give you a deal. As long as you're willing to post a few pics, that's great for us. And, I'll help you design them out. That's it.
Excellent. And I'm looking at my favorite game back there, Berserk. I mean, that looks great.
Ah.
That's one of my favorite games.
One other thing. I'll show you what happens when we launch the game. Let's see. They've gone to sleep on me. So when it launches, sorry, I'm doing an upgrade. So I don't have my latest software, but it would have scrolled now playing Berserk.
Nice.
And then it'll go to that
nice.
image. I apologize.
That's okay, but again,
build, but that's a feature that we worked with.
That's excellent. So again, that's just something to be adding to it. Now, another quick question, if I can. I know you put it on Instructables. Instructables, do they have like contests? Do you guys like try? Is that what they kind of do on that thing? Like try to pick like a best new thing?
They do have contests. I would say that's not the major motivation to do it, because Instructables is a pretty large community. I don't think it's that big in the arcade space. But I come from the DIY electronics space, just general electronics projects, and there's a lot of guys posting on there. It's more just to get the feedback. It's a pretty large community. You get a lot of good comments and whatnot.
And again, I'm going to have the link down below. I would definitely recommend you guys take a look at his Instructable. It's just a really good read. He's got very specific information. He goes through the entire build process. And like I said, you do sell it pre-assembled, but even as a kit, the kit, it doesn't look very difficult to do at all. It just takes a little time.
Yeah, maybe like 15, 20 minutes to put together. I spent a lot of time documenting exactly what to do on the videos, so it should be fairly easy for anyone that can do a little bit of tinkering.
Yeah, if you could put together an Arcade1UP, I think you could put together this little board. And again, it looks fairly robust. Doesn't look super delicate. Obviously, anything with a board on there, you want to make sure you don't have any static on yourself. But other than that, it looks like it's pretty straightforward and fun, actually. That's kind of when you mod these things, part of the fun is kind of doing as much yourself as you can, because you get that feeling of accomplishment when it's done.
Yeah. And I think to that point, I think a lot of guys really like the fact that they can personalize the artwork as well. So, for example, you could do your own default logo. So when it boots up, it could come to your logo and things like that. So that's all pretty easy to do if you can do a little paint or Photoshop. So that's an easy customization to make. A lot of people seem to like that.
Or if you know someone who could do that kind of work, they can do the same thing. Because Glen can't even do a stick figure. I can't do any kind of artwork. My brother can, but I can't. But Al, again, I want to thank you for taking some time tonight to talk to us about this project you have going on here. Again, everyone, there will be links down below if you want to check this out or purchase one, or just send him a question or offer him some assistance. Anything. Al's more than welcome to hear from the community about what you think about it, right?
Yep, absolutely. Love the feedback.
Al, thank you very much for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it.
No problem, Glenn. Thanks for having me at any time.
Thank you.
So that's it. I really want to thank Al for taking some time out of his day today to talk to me about his new Light Up Marquee project. This is something that looks like it would be really great for your Arcade1UP, ATGames, arcade machine, and more. It looks like it's very customizable, and it looks like he's also willing to listen to the community to not only improve it, but to make, other changes people may just want to have on it. So I want to thank him once again, and I want to thank you for taking some time out of your day for joining me on today's episode of Glen's Retro Show. Again, if you liked the video, please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. See the links down below to get in touch with Al if you so choose on looking at his videos. I'm sure he would appreciate it. And please stay tuned for my end credits. There's a lot of great YouTubers that I support, and I'm hoping if you haven't already, you'll take a look at them and subscribe to them as well. So again, thanks for watching, everyone, and remember, game on.
at the Tiny Arcade fan page. Remember, don't admire people too much. They'll disappoint you.
Sit, Blue Blue, sit. Good dog.